Raheem. What a weekend of boxing. And Naoya the Monster Inoue took home and retained the undisputed super bantamweight championship of the world in Japan's biggest fight ever. And some people might say, no, well, Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas was the biggest fight in Japanese history. No. That was actually an afterthought, broadcast in the morning on HBO. And this fight, the gate, the purses both fighters took home well exceeded Tyson Douglas in early 1990. Anyways, this sold out the Tokyo Dome and was a summit meeting between Junto Nakatani, who's a really, really, really good fighter, 3-division champion, the unified and lineal recognized bantamweight champion, who is the taller, younger man by 5 years and a knockout artist in his own right, taking on Inoue, who was by far the most patient and wisely so tactical Naoya Inoue that he's ever been. He tamed himself a little bit for this assignment, and because Junto Nakatani is a very proficient long-range puncher boxer, Inoue couldn't be his normal at times overzealous, although eventually he tapped into it anyway when push came to shove to take this fight home. He had to be a more patient version of Naoya Inoue, and that was smart because if he had given Junto Nakatani the same kind of chances and openings that he gave a Ramon Cardenas or a Luis Neri and a few other opponents, then he may have wound up getting knocked out in this fight, but he did what the job called for. But because of that, because you had a long-range sniper and a fighter on the other side who needed to win this fight at all costs, this was the coronation of him becoming Japan's king of all kings in the boxing world in its history. You got a more tactical, tense, high stakes, but in my opinion, in many ways, anticlimactic. And compared to the expectations I believe a lot of other people had for this fight, an underwhelming fight. And people are conflating that, Raheem. They're upset with me. They're saying I'm a casual because of me. But here's the thing. I called it the Japanese Leonard Hearns coming in, and it did not deliver a Leonard Hearns type of fight. So while it was a fight fought at an extremely high skill level between one really, really good, excellent level fighter and an all-time great in Naoya Inoue, I wanted and was expecting something closer to Morales Barrera or Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez, or De La Hoya Mosley Warner. I expected a modern-day classic. And I'm not saying it was a bad fight, but in the grand expectations of it all, I think it's fair to say the fight fell short. But some fights, you just have to win. You just have to win, and you could look spectacular the next. And that's what Inoue did. He fought an intelligent fight, and he won and is easily one of the best fighters in the world.
We are such suckers for a narrative. I'll put my hand up and myself first in line. I love a great narrative. This fight was all talk and no real classic level delivery. Now, while they call you a casual for your take, believe me, I'm about to take all that heat off you because I'm going a lot harder in the paint, Sean. I don't even like this fight. I did not enjoy myself. This was not a classic. And I said before the weekend began that it was going to be Benavidez Zurdo that was going to be the fight of the weekend. In fact, when we did the build to that fight, I disrespectfully didn't even mention this fight. You went on with your boy, rightly so, who's got the depth of knowledge around the Japanese fight community, and it's been his time in country. Love watching that build up with your guy, True
Sports, Brendan Taylor.
True School Sports, shout out, well done. But you know what? Even that show was better than the fight for me. This was always going to be the dud that it was. The ability of both fighters is not why it was a shit fight. The start of the fight, the fact that really the whole first half of the fight was just a chess match without sizzle. It wasn't a sexy chess match, and there can be sexy chess matches. You know, this wasn't that.
High speed chess.
Yeah, high speed, 3-level chess. You know, This was not that, bro. And on top of it, I saw what Nakatani could have done if only the speed of Inoue wasn't there from the outside. It wasn't that, because I see a lot of other pundits saying, well, if he had been more aggressive and he had worked the jab and applied pressure earlier, what we saw in the second half of the fight, he had done in the first half. Well, yeah, if he could have, he couldn't, because he had to adjust to the speed. Like, I know Nakatani is very aware of Inoue's career. I'm sure he studied for the fight. He was prepared to go in there and give his best. There was probably nothing left on the table in the gym trying to get ready for this opponent. However, I'll take one of the classic post-fight comments from Floyd. I was faster than you thought I was. I hit harder than you thought I was. And these fighters who come in there and think they can beat me from watching tape and breaking me down, it ain't what it looks like when you're in there. That's what Nakatani had to adjust to. And it took him 5-6 rounds to do that. It wasn't because he wasn't trying. And he wasn't going to get caught out there over his skis, getting beat up, trying to catch the much faster man. That's all we were watching. So if anything, I would say it could have been Inoue to press the action. The kind of fight that Sean Zettel wants to close the show is the kind of fight that Inoue could have put on from the beginning. But I would say it wasn't Nakatani being overcautious. It was Inoue being overcautious. If anything, if overcautious, fine. I get the eye roll. It might be a little haterism. It might be a little extreme to say overcautious. Nakatani requires caution. It's not like you can just throw caution to the wind. But if we're talking about, Nakatani, the pound for pound #1 monster, well, I'm usually the one trying to throw water on you, Sean. I'm usually the one saying, you don't need the knockout. Like, you fight to win. You stay responsible. You do what you have to do to win the rounds. And then if a knockout comes, it comes. Okay, all of that. But with the build-up to this fight and with the accolades that people are giving in a way post-fight and the excitement they have around it, well, your voice is echoing in my head in the first half of the fight. Press it then. Make you're faster. Your punches when they land are effective, and you put Terrence Crawford to sleep. Like, rightly so. I would have taken a nap too.
But he doesn't understand high-level boxing. He's a casual. Terrence Crawford's a casual.
Yeah, exactly. And now in the second half of the fight, here's where it gets hairy, man. Like, look, I was entertained for like 3 rounds, and a reason I call this a shit fight. And get in the comments. I'll be in the comments with you all week, so say what you got to say. The reason I call this a shit fight was because just when we was getting there, because Inoue was finally starting to show human wear. That you can, like, the pace he was fighting at, even when he wasn't in the first half landing great punches, the in and out, the speed, to just the mental pressure that it takes for him to fight that way, not to mention the mental pressure he's putting on Nakatani to defend that and try to find his own offense. As a human being, even at the highest level, you gotta have some dip. You can't just stay at 10 sharp for 12 rounds. So, yeah, finally, that humanity started to show, and credit to Nakatani for being there as soon as the level started to get here where he could put on the gas, and he did. And then here comes the headbutt, bro. The headbutt throws the fight into the toilet. It totally derailed what could have been an incredible finish. And I will say, I don't think, headbutt or no headbutt, I don't think that Nakatani's pulling that fight out based on what we saw in the 11th and 12th. But I think maybe he's working towards a knockdown. Maybe this fight gets a lot more interesting. And then we'll see what happens in 11th and 12th if Inoue has to get up off the canvas, which he's done multiple times and still been able to put on a hell of a performance post-knockdown. But I'd rather have seen that. But once the cut comes and, he starts to fidget with it, and clearly it is hurting his eyes. And also the break in the action, that little breath that Inoue got to take while we're assessing the cut and all that, that was priceless. That was priceless. And so, great finish from Inoue in the sense that just seeing him recalibrate the energy, his energy level. I mean, he looks like Somebody I think referred to this as a high-level sparring match, except for they were being complimentary about it. Well, the only way I see this as a sparring match is it is the kind of thing where if you've been in the gyms like I have been for years and years, namely Wild Card, the fighters that are really training hard to get ready for somebody will get a fighter in there, 3 fresh rounds, and then you take that fighter out and you put a fresh kid in so that the same fighter has to keep facing a fresh opponent. Now, granted, that fresh opponent tends to not be at the level of the fighter who's getting ready, but in this case, it looked like Inoue from the first round came back into the ring in the 11th and 12th. I can't explain that, right? Like, that part is annoying. I don't appreciate it. Makes this an impossible task. It's not fair. If this is happening, I don't know if they're popping cans of spinach in the corner. You know what I mean? Listen, whatever's happening with Inoue, I don't appreciate it because it's unfair and it makes for a shit fight. Because if you can do that for 5 rounds and Nakatani can't catch up with you, can't make the fight interesting, you're not going to press the action. Then he finally catches up with you. We get some real good exchanges. This fight is actually starting to take on. Nakatani is making up some difference. Then inadvertent headbutt. I'm not blaming anybody, but okay, so the headbutt happens. Nakatani is shook by it. It definitely becomes a distraction for him. Inoue's not affected by it at all. Like, at all. It's his head, too. It wasn't like the top of his cranium. Like, how does this guy not be affected at all? If anything, it's like it reset his energy skill on a video game. I see no window of opportunity, which makes this an annoying fighter for me.
I mean, I've seen lots of great fighters, though, summon up 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th wins deep into championship level fights. You know, De La Hoya dropping Cuarte in the 12th and, you know, shooting off 100 punches and then gassing out for the last minute and a half of the round. But, you know, several times I've seen guys summon up that 4th and 5th win, but to the point there's a few other...
Hold on. Let me just say this, because so have I. Mm-hmm. And what you see is a guy dig deep. What you see is a guy summoning something up. And that is reflection. There's a reflection of that in his action. Like, yeah, that's not what that looked like, though. There's a difference between summoning up, digging deep, pushing through those final rounds, throwing that exhausted punch that still gets to the target, and looking fresh. Inoue looked fresh. That's all I'm saying. That makes it a mountain too high to climb. Go on.
So, to your point about the first half of the fight, I don't think a significant punch landed in the first 6 minutes or 6 rounds. And that's why when they went to Crawford ringside, who was having a ball in Japan, signing autographs, showed up, threw his hat on this thing in a very respectable way. Like, hey, I'm the former pound-for-pound king. I think Crawford was thinking, I may be showing up ringside to help, in essence, by being there, help crown the new pound-for-pound king. Because I think if Inoue had delivered a kind of sensational performance and get a stoppage, get a knockout, I think because he's more active than Usyk, because he's been knocking on the door of number 1 pound for pound as the 2nd or 3rd on most consensus list fighter in the world for like maybe about half a decade now or so, I think this was supposed to be his night to go, it's yours, you know, for however long you are the pound for pound king. But to your point earlier about him, he could have stepped it up earlier and all that. I got to cut him some slack because, and I actually got to cut both of them some slack, even though everybody thinks I'm hating on the fight and all that. Just because it didn't live up to my expectations, sometimes you put these 2 ingredients in and they don't mix. De La Hoya in Trinidad gave me dozens of fights that I own on DVD that I'll watch 10 or 20 more times in my life before I die. But what do you know? When they fought each other in their prime, with all the stakes, it didn't deliver. But that's the difference between 1999 and the bitch-assness of 2026. No one said, oh, De La Hoya Trinidad was high level. You don't understand. You're a casual. Look, if you want to spin it that way, Felix Trinidad was applying the kind of pressure on Oscar De La Hoya that eventually made him the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. Oscar De La Hoya boxed one of the highest level best fights of his career. And if you give me that, oh, well, he ran the last 3 rounds shit, okay. So you're trying to argue the last 2 or 3 rounds, no significant punches landed. The first 6 rounds in this fight, no significant punches landed. So what's the difference? But to cut them both slack, Nakatani, his game plan was one that on the show with Brendan, if you recall, I advised him to do. I say you have to be disciplined in the long range. And at some point, I presumed, Inoue, and I likened it to Kobe Bryant against the Pistons when the Lakers lost in 2004. The Pistons said, we know at some point we're going to use Kobe Bryant's temperament against him. He's going to want to jack up shots. So we let Shaq put up 30 and 35 points because we knew at some point Kobe, who wanted that MVP, was going to get frustrated and was going to start taking ill-advised shots and be aggressive to a fault. Inoue, who I thought at some point that would get the better of him. That, yeah, I'm winning. Yeah, my speed, to your point, is enough to be the superior fighter and boxer. But damn it, I want to deliver something on this stage that nobody will ever forget. And to his credit, and to cut him slack, he said, nah, not on this one. And both fighters were a little tight, specifically Inoue. And he actually reminded me of Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao a little bit, in the sense that his dad's in the corner saying, like, you know, fuck him up. Let the right hand and left hook go. And Floyd, from the moment he was walking to the ring, something a little different was about his demeanor. Because they're human, and he's like, ooh, I've done a lot, and I've accomplished a lot, but I know tonight, if I don't get the job done, there's going to be a whole segment of people waiting to kind of take away everything I've already earned and accomplished to this point. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and just make sure to get this W. Okay? Win now and look good the next. And so, and to his credit, Nakatani, he had a good game plan. And if you're Team Nakatani, you're Rudy Hernandez, and you're studying film on Inoue, you're looking at all these other fights, and you're going, at some point, if we maintain our discipline on the outside, he will get overzealous, and that'll be our opportunity to knock him out. Let's make the most of our physical advantages in height and size and execute a smart, disciplined game plan. Let's not get caught up into a firefight with the quicker hands of Naoya Inoue, and we will snipe him at some point. Inoue just didn't give him what was on film. And you know what I mean? And it was kind of smart. It didn't lead to a great fight, but it led to him winning the fight.
But to be fair, Sean, I agree with everything you said, and he did actually get that opportunity. That's what was happening before the headbutt. It wasn't because he was overzealous, but he did gas, and he was still being aggressive. And that was going to be Nakatani's opportunity. And then you saw him there was something off the punches. All of a sudden, his slipping wasn't as sharp and he was getting caught. He started to reel back. Like, that's the moment you're fighting for. If that's your strategy, that's it. Your strategy working. And then the headbutt derails everything. And then on top of the headbutt derailing everything, only affecting the one fighter and not the other. And then on top of that, Inoue coming back, I can't use another word. Fresh. It is different than summoning something from the depths of your gut. It is different than having the burning fire burning brightly in your belly and going to a dark place to dig out the last 3 rounds. No. This fighter was fresh. And if you want one single punch to give you an example of what I'm talking about, they're inside, and Inoue lands what's essentially like a left hand, but really it's kind of like an up jab, and it snaps Nakatani's head back right after Inoue's supposed to be gassed. That's a hard shot. Like, anybody, at no time in my life have I ever even boxed at a competitive level. All I've ever done is train almost every day, spar in the gym, and take my knocks. Okay, so yes,
in the wild card,
Huh?
none but killers.
Understand? Yeah, but that is a given. But I do know enough from just that level of experience to understand that getting power on an inside up jab, because it's this muscle then, along with, yes, your body weight, but it's that shot is to just kind of, that's a setup shot inside. That was a power shot for Inoue. That late in the fight, after already having been gassed, that's an impossible moment right there for Nakatani to recover from. And then a few seconds later, he follows with a tremendous, all his body weight behind a crisp uppercut. What are you going to do with this guy? What are you going to do? It's not fair. Inoue should retire for the sake of the rest of us. Leave something out here for the rest of us. That's how what I saw was an impossible hurdle. I don't like it. And listen, man, there was something about what you said when you were like, well, if anything I do here, they're going to be looking to take it away from me. Well, the way I saw that mindset on display is that when Nakatani was having success and hit Inoue with a few combinations, Nakatani wouldn't press, which I understand other people are criticizing. I see that. There would be moments where I thought, well, jump on him. You've got a little success, jump on him. And this is another way in which I could liken it to a sparring session. And this is Nakatani's fault, except that I understand also that he's actually human. Okay? So by the time he's starting to have success, he is also dealing with some fatigue, mental and physical. I'm sure of it. And so while you want to press and you're getting some action, it's kind of like he's waiting then for Inoue to take Inoue's turn. And that's kind of like a sparring session kind of mentality. Also, he knows something's coming back, and instead of running into the blade saw trying to press, Nakatani, he's kind of getting his success and then seeing what Inoue is going to do. And Inoue does do something, and then it comes into a reset. And so even when Nakatani was at his best, doing his best, that was at play as well, which just made Inoue too much to overcome. And then, like I say, when he finally had those moments where Inoue seemed to be reeling, here comes the headbutt, and we never recover from that.
Yeah, and yeah, again, high-level fight, high-stakes fight. It delivered some drama down the stretch. Inoue's chin was getting in. That's his one flaw, but he's so athletic, and even at 33, his reflexes were still sharp enough. The right uppercut that took him home in the 11th round, and a few times, this was cool when he would throw a right hand and then miss it. Kind of like, actually, there's a few times like when Teofimo was forced to reach with a right hand against Shakur, and he's all out of position. But Inoue, his dexterity, his athleticism, he misses the right hand, and then he just stays there. Like, no, I'm not going to reset my real estate, because it was hard to get to that point against Nakatani, who was being disciplined with his length. And then he would just stay there, and now I'm just going to throw it again. And it's hard to anticipate that second right hand from a guy like that. But
he threw a triple right hand like that a couple of times. Triple. He did that triple a couple of times.
Yeah. Kind of like, Roy Jones would triple up a left hook. And it's like, that's uncanny. That's different. That's special. And the one time he did it, and it didn't work on the double. And then Nakatani shoots two counters. He slips underneath him. And bam! With the right uppercut. And that was the go-home punch. That was the most hurt either fighter was in the fight. It ruined and stunted the momentum Nakatani had in the 9th and 10th, along with the headbutt and the perfect opportune time for a breath for Inoue, who you're right, for the first time ever in his career looked human, actually looked tired. Punches, hands weren't coming back home defensively that responsible. Punches all of a sudden losing a little bit of their snap and their precision. And then the 11th round, he catches his breath again. 12th round, takes it home.
Catches his breath is an understatement.
Yeah.
I'll just say that, okay? Catches his breath is an understatement. Something's got to be done. Something has to be done. I don't know. Also, let me say this. I don't want to hear any of this Bam Rodriguez talk.
That's what I was going to ask. What's next? What do you want to see next?
I love Bam Rodriguez. I don't want to see this fight. He's too small. He's going to get washed by Inoue, and it will be devastating to watch because it's a fight that shouldn't even be happening. And yes, I know all this like climbing weight divisions, jumping weight divisions, Crawford, all like it's all happening. His Excellency is already trying to puppet string this shit. No, man. No, it's not right. We're not that thirsty. There's enough high-level boxing for this to happen. Let Inoue get older and somehow at some point, hopefully weaker. Let maybe Bam, if it's going to happen at some point, naturally get bigger. If this fight were to ever happen, which I don't ever need to see it. Bam is in his own lane, bro. He's in literally his own weight class, which he just elevated. Like this is a fight that they're forcing to happen, and it ain't a fight that needs to happen. I don't want to see it, and if it were to happen, I want to put some very unusual stipulations on it. I want everybody to start testing today. And they need to live together like a reality show.
Bam can snap up? What do you mean?
With a battery of tests. I want somebody there shaving heads. No, I don't want nobody with no platinum blonde hairs in boxing. I don't want no platinum blonde hairs. I want everybody living together. I want these weight classes to become naturally matched. And as long and until they become naturally within 3 pounds of each other, nobody's allowed to fight each other. I say all that tongue-in-cheek. I am winding you up because obviously none of those things are going to happen, nor are they necessary. But that's my point. This fight shouldn't happen, and it isn't necessary. And I get why everybody is excited to think about it. But it's one of these ones we should still think about. Because when you look at the actual situation that Bam Rodriguez is in and who Bam is, it's not as bad as he wants it. And he does. I know he does. It ain't the right fight. That is not a fight he should be having. Yeah, when we say we have weight classes for a reason, I would say right in this, at this part of the weight classes is when it's most true that there are weight classes for a reason. 22, 26, 30, even 35. Like those weight classes are the ones that have the most significant reason for having weight classes. Chocolatito will tell you that. Like these fighters who climb these weight classes and are putting themselves in super harm's way just so they can have big fights. Certain guys, you should clear these fights out. Lomachenko, and stay there and beat those guys. Not only is this not a right fight, it's not a right fight at this time. Something has to change. Bam Rodriguez today should not go in there with the Inoue we saw last night.
Yeah, we were there when Chocolatito got knocked out by a fighter who isn't really all that near his greatness in Srisaket Soron Visai. He was just too fucking big. And Chocolatito trying to implement the style. And that's really who Bam Rodriguez is more the successor to, is Chocolatito Gonzalez. In the flyweight divisions. He's not yet grown into being a bantamweight or a super bantamweight. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I'm featherweight. The featherweight is the next challenge, the next mountain to climb for Naoya Inoue. And that's has his plan anyway. So let's stick to some conventional logic here and see what happens at featherweight. And I think featherweight will be treacherous waters for him to navigate, man, because those guys are big. They can. I think Angelo Leo is very underrated. He defends his title in Atlanta against Rais Salim this Saturday. I think Bruce Carrington. I keep coming back to the Carrington fight, and it's you're biased. He's American. One day they say I'm biased for American black fighters, then I'm biased for Mexican fighters. Then I hate on black and Mexican fighters and like foreign fighters better. If everyone feels like you're against their guy, you're probably in the middle, right, Raheem? But
that's it.
But I am, I'll see this. I like Angelo Leo, okay? He lives out here in Las Vegas. He's a great young man. Brendan is helping him prepare for his featherweight title defense, okay? So full disclosure. And yes, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from the kingdom of Brooklyn, okay? And to spread love is the Brooklyn way, okay? And I keep coming back for 2 years now to the Bruce Carrington fight. And I'll mention this comparison again. Prince Nassim Hamed versus Kevin Kelly in Madison Square Garden. And for the millionth time, for people whose ears are bleeding for some reason with this take, if Inoue doesn't want to fight in the United States because he is one of the faces of boxing and an economic force that at this point is trumping even the incredible economic force of Prince Nassim Hamed in the 1990s in the United Kingdom, which was enormous, which trumped the economic, very legitimate forces of a Barrera or a Morales or a Marquez in the United States with Mexican and Mexican-American fans, that is fine. If Inoue only wants to defend his titles because he's the money man in Japan, then that is okay. But since he's fought here 4 times, that his actions would indicate to me that he is searching for some kind of defining moment in the United States. And I think if Bruce Carrington in particular, because he's an American fighter from New York, the 5 boroughs, and Inoue attended his fight at the Garden and pulled up ringside and watched his whole bout and then walked out when he was finished watching, didn't even stick around for the main event, then I think if Carrington puts in the work, because he's got to elevate himself to the top of the heap of the featherweights. And I think Divino Espinosa might just be too big. You know, that's a lot to ask Inoue to fight a 6'1" guy. But if Carrington could unify with one of the other champions and position himself as I am the top dog at featherweight, grab some extra hardware, unify, then I think Carrington fits the bill for. And why would Inoue, what does he give a shit about doing something in America? I don't know. Shohei Ohtani and Ichiro Suzuki and Yamamoto and all these incredible Japanese baseball icons, they didn't have to come to America. They were killing it in Japan. They were already legends in their own country, but they wanted, and I understand boxing in the United States right now is not the economic commercial success that Major League Baseball is. I get it. It's not that well-oiled machine. But point being, they wanted to make a name for themselves in America. And in a way, from his actions, seems like that's on some type of list of priority. The fight for me is Madison Square Garden, Bruce Carrington, with a little bit more behind him than he's got right now, a little bit more worth behind him than he's got right now, against Naoya Inoue. And I think Carrington stands a real chance of upsetting Inoue in that fight. I love that fight. I love the fight against any of the featherweights. Figueroa being the last one on the list, but Espinoza, Angelo Leo, Bruce Carrington, those are excellent fights. And I think Carrington carries the most potential to make it the American stateside event he may or may not be searching for.
I'm here for all of that. That is excellent fight making, matchmaking. That is narrative I can get behind. That's a challenge that, as you say, could be a final real threat to the invincible Last Samurai, which is we've got a monster.
And I look like Tom Cruise, they say. I at least have his haircut from his prime a little bit, though.
I feel like we only need one monster in boxing, and we are going to talk about that next. I know David Benavidez owns that. So let's not, I don't think I need Inoue. I need Inoue, the Last Samurai. And you know what, Bam? Harry Carey, out of honor and respect. Just honor and respect where you are, the fight division that you're in, the incredible talent that you have on your own path. You do not need this clash right now. Just humble yourself a little bit to not reach too far over your skis. Allow Inoue to take his own course and take yours. There is nothing diminishing about that whatsoever. I want to see a long, illustrious career from Bam Rodriguez plot and plan his own course. Do not let the puppet masters pull your string. This is this is not the time for that fight. Inoue, listen to Sean. Boxing World, listen to Sean. That is the kind of matchmaking that serves all purposes.
I think you'll agree, though. He was already a first ballot before this fight, but I think really his legacy is completely set now as the greatest fighter to come from Japan. He's playing with house money. He's playing with house money. Let's say one of the featherweights who are naturally bigger men and all younger than him, let's say one of them get him. So what? Like, you know what I mean? That. No,
yeah. But I agree with you.
He's
looking for something.
Featherweight unscathed? I'm like, oh, just fucking.
You're exactly right. It's not tarnishing his legacy at this point. He's looking for something special. Yes, he's looking, I think, for American validation, if I'm honest. He's looking for a more global impact. And that really is something you can only truly be delivered from the shores of the United States. Like it or hate it, that's the truth. And Inoue could do it. And the amount of danger he'd be putting himself in at 33 now. Like, again, Bam's not that old. And I keep coming back to that matchup because I know we're going to end up having to talk about that matchup. So I want to set in stone right now where I'm coming from before we do talk about that matchup. And if it comes, I'll be talking about it and I'll be ringside for it. But I don't believe it should happen. With that said, it's that time for Inoue. If he wants what you say he wants, and I believe he does. So it does make sense to go up and wait, to take really these unnecessary threats, to see how far you can push it. That's what happens with all of these incredibly great lightweight fighters, right? Like this is, and then you just see how far you can go with it. But you're right. I feel like Inoue, in a way, has cemented his legacy in these lighter weights in a way that even Manny Pacquiao hadn't done at that weight just yet. If he had not continued on, or Floyd, if he had not continued on, or Lomachenko, even Lomachenko probably the closest, but if he had not continued on, till you find your level, find like what is in fact too far. I don't mind watching Inoue on that journey, and I won't take anything from him while he's on it.
He might be the greatest fighter of all time at those bantamweight classes, 118 and 122. He might be.
I'm happy to find out. Yeah, well, that part, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that. I'm saying that so much that I'm annoyed by that. I can't even get a good fight no more. Like, it's just like...
You win, bro. You win. Yeah,
you win. I'm tapping out for the rest of us.